Today we are going to see the axial flow turbine. In the past few classes we have seen about compressor, right? Now what is a basic difference between compressor and the turbine? Compressor is a rotating component in an gas turbine engine which allows to create a high pressure. But whereas in the turbine, in case of turbine, this is another component of a gas turbine engine. It helps to what it helps? It does not helps to increase the pressure, but instead it helps to increase the kinetic energy. It helps to develop a kinetic energy. So if the kinetic energy develops, what will happen? Obviously, we will get better thrust, and using the turbine, it actually drive the compressor. The turbine has a capacity to drive or to generate the power, and that's how the compressor, it helps to create a high pressure. So if any engineer want to design a gas turbine engine, so they have to consider the first, if it is a rotating engine just like gas turbine, unlike ramjet does not have any rotating components like compressor and turbine. So unlike that, if you are in general jet engine, turbo, fan and so on, where you have the purpose of your compressor and turbine, the first and foremost is going to be the matching of compressor and the matching of turbine. Fine. Now let's see some what are the outlines of this axial turbine, right? Axial turbine, what is the similarity between the turbine and the axial turbine and the axial compressor? First of all, just like an axial compressor, we had alternative stator and rotor. So here also we will have some kind of stator blades and the rotor blades, and will have one or more than stages. The purpose of axial turbine is to accelerate the flow. So as I've said, how a flow can be accelerated? Only by developing or generating high kinetic energy. Then next is, as I've said already, just like a axial compressor, here also we have a combination of stator and the rotor. Sometimes instead of stator they call as a nozzle. Okay, they are also called as a nozzle. Now in the rotor, the working fluid imparts its momentum on to the rotor, and that convert the kinetic energy to the power output. Okay, this is an important how it is converting. So basically it drive, as I have said, that turbine actually drive the compressor to rotate. That means it, due to this kinetic energy, it generates some power, and that power is being transformed to the compressor, and that's how the compressor is rotating. Fine. And depending on the power requirement, the number of stages or the processes are need to be incorporated, right? So same as we have seen in the axial compressor. So what is the amount of pressure is need to be generated, and we need to see what is the each stage, what is the power it is developing. So accordingly we need to see what is the number of stators and rotors are need to be or required. Fine. Then since turbine operate with an favorable pressure gradient, it is possible to have much higher pressure drop per stage as compared with the compressor. So this is again an very important point. So turbine, it's operate with a favorable pressure gradient, right? Now what is the main, again at the beginning of the discussion between the turbine and the compressor, I have said that for the purpose of compressor and the turbine, the purpose of compressor is to increase the pressure, right? And the turbine is to accelerate or generate the power. So where the pressure will low and velocity will be high. Now if the pressure low means what? That means it is a pressure drop. Now how it happens, a pressure drop? The design of a blade is been designed in such a way that it will create a adverse pressure gradient. Adverse pressure gradient, that means there will be a flow separation. Fine. So there will be huge amount of stalling is required. And if you see, if you have seen in your university or institution, if there is any kind of jet engine stocked at your university, you can, by seeing the blade, just analyze the blade, you can find it, the shape of the blades are entirely different, and the shape and the cross section, due to that only it helps to generate a pressure drop. Now another very important point, axial turbine can handle large mass flow rate. Okay, it can handle large mass flow rate, and hence we can call as a more efficient. And some of the features, axial turbine has a same frontal area as that of compressor. Why? Because in terms of matching process. In terms of matching process. So as I have said, when you are going to design a compressor and a turbine, we need to match the between the compressor and the turbine. Fine. Take an example, a very simple example. Now of everybody have in their particular home will have a fan, right? Ceiling fan. Yes? Do you have ceiling fan? Yes or no? You have a ceiling fan, right? And I hope at some point of time you have seen that you have called a mechanics to fix that maybe the speed of the fan is not rotating properly, or some sort of issues relevant to fan, right? Maybe the fan is rotating properly, but there is no air. I think these are the very common problems you have faced at some point of time. Now all that things happen, there is a science behind it. So if you see, the fan is rotating in a high speed, but still you are not getting air. The reason behind because of the blade, the shape of the blade has been not satisfied the pressure zone and the suction zone. So if you twist the blade angle respect to that, you can see when you call to the mechanical any guy, so he will just do nothing. He will just twist the fan blade, and you will feel, oh, that's all he did. This is one scenario, right? So that is all about, again, aerodynamics, and that is a propulsion. Now sometimes you have seen he has made some changes. There will be one rod which will be connected with your fan. Now just imagine this rod and the fan is not connected properly. So when this fan will be rotating, and if their connection is not proper or maintained or balanced, it can lead to a disaster, right? So both the shaft and the power gauge with the fan need to connect properly. Same goes with the compressor and the turbine. Both need to balance it, both need to bring some equilibrium. Right? Now, here the efficiency, they said efficiency of the turbine higher than the compressor. Now this factor, how and why the efficiency of the turbine is higher than the compressor, I will come to that point later when we will discuss on the formula. I will show you some expression and you will understand how and why the efficiency of the turbines is slightly higher as compared with the compressor. Now, talking about the types of axial turbine. So basically the axial turbine can be classified in two ways. One is a impulse, second one is a reaction turbine. So simultaneously I will request all of you to note down this. Fine. So axial turbine can be classified in the form of impulse and the reaction. So impulse turbine. What is impulse turbine? The entire pressure drop takes place in the nozzle. So this nozzle is, don't get confused with this nozzle. This is just like a stator. Okay. In the stator, what happens? There is the entire pressure drop takes place in the stator. And what happens in the rotor? Rotor blades simply deflect the flow and hence have a symmetrical shape. Fine. So if they give two, okay, let's first see the definition and then we will go for this figure. Next type is a reaction type, reaction turbine. So what happens here? Pressure drop shared by rotor and the stator. Right? Now let's have a close look onto this figure. This is a nozzle, or we can say stator, and this is the rotor. This is again a stator and this is a rotor. Fine. Now what you can see over here. So as the flow comes with have some pressure, when it enters into the nozzle or the stator, the pressure falls. The pressure falls. After it moves across the rotor, there is no negotiable change, almost the constant. Almost the pressure is constant. Whatever the outlet pressure, it came out from the stator blade. Fine. This is the scenario. Now if this is a scenario, we call as an impulse turbine. Impulse turbine. Next we have, now let's have a look what happens with the with the velocity. So as, yes please.
Why pressure is dropping in that region, ma'am?
Pressure is dropping. So one is a factor is a shape, cross sectional. If we look at the cross section, one factor, right, and second is a factor of the shape of a blade. Two factors. Okay, right. Next is a reaction type. Reaction, if we see first, okay, I have skipped the speed in the impulse. Now as the speed at certain flow, it is increasing, it is coming into the stator. Now once it enters into the impulse, there is a stator blade. What we can see, the velocity increases. What I said, the turbine, the main purpose, it will at some point it will increase the velocity, or it will helps to increase the kinetic energy. Now after it enters, again what happens? It falls. Right? Again it falls. Then let's move on to the next reaction turbine. Reaction turbine, what it says that the pressure drop is shared by both the rotor as well as stator. So this is shared by both the rotor and the stator. Fine. So what you can see here, slightly decreased and after it moved to the rotor again slightly decreased. So this is the complete pressure drop. Now looking for the speed, in the stator blade are kept in such a way that the pressure, even the pressure decreases, here the velocity will increase. But at the rotor part again what is happening, there is a fall of velocity. Okay, there is the decrease of the flow speed. So there can be a question that which among the following schematic figure represents the reaction turbine. So they will give so many things, right? So you have to choose or fix the correct one. Now,
Ma'am, in previous, ma'am, the
hmm,
pressure and velocity are inversely, ma'am. Pressure drop, velocity will also drop.
yes, but here it is velocity is dropping because of the shape of the airfoil. The shape of a airfoil are kept in such a way that it will leads, it's highly cambered. So if you see the figure of or a cross section of a compressor blade and the turbine blade, the turbine blades are highly cambered, and when the flow comes over here, it leads to stall. And you know, sorry, move to the next. And when it leads to stall over here, so obviously it is stalling means what? Flow separation means it's a reverse flow. The velocity will decelerate. So that's why we have this, the velocity is decreasing here. You're getting the point?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Now you might have asked a question like what is SS and MS, right? You can see one SS here and what is MS here. SS is nothing, a single stage, right? We are seeing a single stage. What is happening, what kind of pressure and velocity difference are happening. For a multi-stage, when we have a different, here how many stages are there? Two stages, because one is fixed, which is can be a stator or also known as a nozzle, or is a rotor. So alternative fixed and rotating, fixed and rotating, it goes simultaneously. Fine. So these are the things you have to study, right? There can be a question if it is a four stage, choose the right figure among it, among this. If it is a two stage, choose the right figure among this. So there is a high possibility. Okay, understand this figure which I have already explained that. Fine. So talking about the working. Okay, so as you can see, this is the fixed your nozzle, or you can call as a stator, and this one is your rotor which is rotating. Fine. And here the same thing, cross section has been shown. This is a one which when the flow is entering into the nozzle, 2 when leaving, and also the point 2 is the entrance of the rotor, 3 is a tip of the it is the exit of the rotor, the flow or whatever it is exiting, right? Now these are the nomenclatures, certain nomenclatures, the area, and this is called as a tip, is a root. Fine. Now we have something like this kind of shape. This is a single stage, and if the flow is less than 1 Mach number, we have this shape. What this shape called as? It's called as divergent shape, right? and if we have this kind of thing, we call as a convergent. In a divergent, if we have Mach less than 1, a flow is accelerating inside it. What will happen at the end of this divergent section? Based on the cross section, you tell me. What will happen? Anyone? What will happen? I hope you have studied in aerodynamics, all of you.
Ma'am, in the divergent case,
Hmm.
uh, the, the starting region, that is for n less than 1,
Hmm.
velocity decreases so that pressure in that inlet will increase. Vice versa for the convergent one.
Okay. So, if we have a divergent and the flow at the inlet is less than 1, that means subsonic, right? So, the velocity, that means kinetic energy, will fall. Fine? Kinetic energy, actually at the end of the story, what you can see? What you can see here? It is falling or rising? It is falling, right? As I've said, you asked me few minutes back that how it is falling, what are the factors, and this is a one of the factor. Second, let's discuss that if it is a convergent, in case it is a convergent, what will happen, and the flow is of your of your less than 1 and in the convergent, obviously the velocity will enhance, right? Velocity will enhance that. That means it will increase the kinetic energy and there will be drop of pressure, right? So this is how the phenomena with respect to the blade shape and this cross section, the pressure drop is generated. Now let's see mathematically how this pressure are being generated, right? Now first and foremost, when the air is entering through the nozzle, or we can call as a stator, so entrance of that means there is a change or transformation of static pressure. So let's take a static pressure when it's entering inside the nozzle is 1 and leaving is the 2. In this case, what is the factor of enthalpy? Talking about stagnation enthalpy. Stagnation enthalpy, when the flow is entering and leaving, it's going to be the same. There is no change in enthalpy. Now, as we were discussing, what is going to happen for the stagnation pressure? Ideally, so in an isentropic condition, both their stagnation pressure is going to be the same. But in real case, the pressure over here is going to be the high as compared with this. So this also there can be a plotting. So if they ask across the stator, right, this is the length of the particular stator, entrance and exit. So whose stagnation pressure is going to be high? Obviously P is going to be high and drastically it will fall, right? So this is a diagram for stagnation pressure. So if this is a point, we have P01, and this is a point, we have P02. So we can say that this is a P01 and this again P02, right? So there is a fall across the stator, or we can also call as a nozzle. Now let's see what happens for in case of rotor. In case of rotor, again there will be a transformation of static pressure, right? Rotor row can be considered from the entrance, the exit of the nozzle is going to be the entrance for the rotor, and exit of the rotor is going to be the point 3. So static pressure, again what is going to happen here is going to transform from P2 to P3. Stagnation is no longer the same here. So here the stagnation, enthalpy and the pressure, these parameters are very important. So H02 is going to be the higher. That means at this particular location it's going to be the higher, right? And this H03 is going to be less as compared with that. Now can I, if they ask a question, draw the stagnation enthalpy diagram for the axial turbine? Fine. Can you draw it? Is it possible for you to draw? That means to draw for 1, 2 and 3. For all the respective points. 1 is the entrance of the nozzle, 2 is the exit of the nozzle or the entrance of the rotor, 3 is the exit of the rotor. So what you have seen in previously, H01 is equal to H02, and here H02 is greater than H03. So there can be of multiple selection type questions are quite possible from here. So until and unless you have this concept, you cannot answer for the same. Follow all of you? Now can I draw this? That means both the H1 and H02 is going to be the maximum limit, and when it comes to H02 it will fall. All of you, are you following this? Students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So there can be a question from here. Fine. And instead of this kind of question, they can also give you such kind of expression like I have shown you here. So remember these concepts. Fine. Similarly, here what they said, stagnation pressure is P01 is greater than P02, and here they said P02 is greater than P03. So again it is going to be very easy across. So P01 is greater than P02. So this is another expression. So here if I have to draw stagnation pressure versus each and every stages, so drastically it is going to be like this, right? You agree or not? So this is P01, P02 and P03. It will be like a steps, just like what we have seen over here in this, right? Drastically it is falling. The same thing will happen here as well. Now again coming to that velocity triangle, as the flow is moving, it will have this vector of flow vector will be moving in 3 different forms. So same will be happening here as well, absolute, relative and the tangential one, and obviously there's be a peripheral, and combination of that will give you the velocity triangle, right? Now turbine cascades and all those things I will come to that later. So this is also an very very important, that when we talk about turbine, right? So the particular topic is not complete until we cover the turbine cascade. So talking about that turbine cascade, that instead of blades, the array of the blades is called as a cascades, right? How they are aligned all together. Fine. Now here already I have discussed some of the points that how this turbine blades are very unique as compared with the compressor blades, and what are the features, and that we will come in the later part. First let's enter into the velocity triangle. Fine. Now just like we have done in past few velocity triangle, right? Now before getting started into the velocity diagram for an axial turbine, I will request all of you to just recall the last two velocity triangle, the ideal one. The first, what we have seen in the compressor, we had a centrifugal compressor, another one is the axial compressor. What the basic difference that we have noticed? I hope there was some difference. Here it was CR, right? This one will be W beta and C alpha. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Or we can make vice versa as well. C alpha W beta, right? And the distance between this to this was our U. Am I right? Just let me know. And same goes here as well in the axial turbine. Let me draw it properly. Fine. So there we have seen the angles in this way. This was a beta and it is a alpha. This again W and this is C. Okay, so from here to here will be our W T1 and this is our tangential one. Am I right? And the complete one is a U. Yes or no? Please let me know whether if I have made any mistake, you can tell me. Is this a velocity triangle for axial compressor?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Now let's have a close look on that. This is for the axial compressor. Whatever we have done is for the compressor, right? And the same thing is going to happen over here as well, right? And here is also the same thing. The first and foremost, you observe the figure. Fine. Now let's see the axial. Where is my stylus? Just a second. Where my stylus gone? Oh. Fine. Just imagine that. Okay. Let's make it in this way. That means a point on this and this will give you U. You agree with this or not? This axial turbine, just imagine it's a paper, and this particular side, right, you're folding and transforming on this side, right? And what kind of triangular shape will you get? And that is what is your axial turbine velocity. Let's make it in this way. Let me repeat. Fine. This is your beta value, W. This is your C. This is your alpha. From here to here is your U. This is your W. T, and this is your CT. Fine. Is it okay? Now what I said, this is for the axial compressor. Now just imagine this particular thing, right? This particular zone, you are overlapping over this. So if you want to overlap that, so first draw this other half. This is C, this is alpha, this is CT. Fine. Now when you overlap this, there will be another, this CA, which is common. This angle will become beta, right? If you overlap this, then this line will become your W. Before, here to here was your CT. Now here to here will become your WT. And you know, this point to this point is always U. So that means this point to this point is your U. Are you getting the same? Just now refer over here. Yes or no? Are you getting the same?
Ma'am, U is full length. So,
How? u is a distance between the end of w and the u, this absolute velocity and the relative velocity. The velocity between, actually this is what it says, a velocity triangle, the combination of relative velocity, absolute velocity and the blade velocity. Sometimes blade is also called as a peripheral velocity. Inside this, these are like small like tangential velocity, this is a axial velocity, right? These are the subcomponents of this. But what is a main? Main is a relative, your blade and the absolute velocity. Got it? And u is always a between the relative and the absolute. Now this line is your relative line here, and this is your absolute. So now from this point to this point will be your u. Okay. Now one more remarkable notice that you can make over here, especially in the turbine. Here the alpha 2 is greater than beta 2, and whereas in the end of the rotor blade the beta 3 is greater than alpha 3. So just take the same thing. When we have a beaker, what is going to happen? The same concept, the same thing. If the same particular this area you are overlapping and considering the beta is more, so you have this triangle first, this is C, this is CA, this is your CT, and you're overlapping when your beta is more. This is alpha is more. Let's consider this. This is your beta, right? Now when this is beta, this will become your W, and from this CA to this W is your WT. That means from here to here it will become your WT. And what is U? U always connects between the C and the W. So this is going to be your U. Is it clear or not? See, you don't have to memorize this thing. You just remember one thing. Which one is higher? The beta 2 is higher when alpha is higher when the flow is entering into the rotor, and beta is higher when it is leaving from the rotor. If you know that, accordingly, if you know to bring the constructions, no need to memorize so hard. Now you guys tell me, any questions? Is it clear? Yes or no? Any doubt? Any question? Anyone?
Centrifugal compressor.
Okay. If there is a velocity triangle, right? Remember how the velocity triangles are formed. So velocity triangle basically formed, right? I'm telling you from the scratch. It's formed is a combination of, just a second. Fine. Now, whenever any triangle is formed, it's a combination of absolute velocity, right, relative velocity, and the blade speed, or we can call as a peripheral velocity. Absolute denoted by C. Here when we are discussing the relative velocity, we are defining W and blade as U. So they are just combinations of this. So suppose this is C and this is W. C means absolute, this is relative. They are always connected with another one is a blade velocity. Got it? Which is U. And this other component, this absolute velocity and the relative velocity, are further splitted into the other components. Fine? And what are the other components they have splitted? One is in the form of, this is, if this is called, either called as a radial, these are just a component, okay. If it is axial compressor or the axial turbine, we call as axial velocity, or if it is a centrifugal, we'll say as a radial one. Fine. But basically this component remains same. There is another components, this one, okay, this one. This is called as a relative tangential velocity. Fine. Relative tangential velocity, which here C is there, tangential T, so C is suffix T. Got it? And this is only this much. Now we have a relative velocity. The relative velocity is again further splitted into two. One is again the tangential one, and one is another common factor, which is between these two. This is a radial. So this one from here to here, right, it's relative tangential velocity. This is called as a okay, W T. Any confusion till here? And this is a fixed.
No, ma'am.
Okay, and this is just a fixed. Now the difference is, now you have to understand the difference. Now I will change my ink color.
Ma'am, CT is relative tangential velocity.
CT. CT.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. CT is absolute, right? Thank you for, it's absolute. See, as it is on the side of absolute, it is going to be absolute. This is a side of relative, so everything is going to be relative. As simple as that. Okay? Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Thank you for identifying it, right? This is absolute one and this is a relative tangential one. Okay. Now, the difference part. Now, when we talk about your centrifugal, the blade angle. Fine. Now, here absolute A. So, this one is going to be your alpha, right? And the other one is going to be your beta. This is in case of centrifugal, and centrifugal have different forms, right? So based on the beta angle, so beta will be 90, or beta will be less than 90, or greater than. So this is the basic. If you know the basic, from there you can change. Yes, please.
In this axial turbine similar to like axial compressor in terms of like taking that angles. means with
Yes,
respect
yes,
to
yes.
axial velocity we are taking angles, but
Hmm.
in centrifugal compressor we are taking with respect to blade velocity we are
Yes,
taking the angles.
yes.
So my doubt is like, can we take for centrifugal compressors also the similar convention as axial compressors? Like with respect to axial velocity, even can I take the angle for centrifugal
No, no,
compressors also?
no, 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 no. That is what I'm telling. Here, the which I'm showing you right now here. These are for the centrifugal, which I've shown. For axial, it is just a different. What is a different? There we are taking this one as an angle. Other features, other components are remaining same. But the blade angle or absolute blade angle, or you can say the air angle, are be going to be different. This is a condition for axial one, and this is a condition for the centrifugal one, but other components remain same. Fine. Is clear right now?
Yes.
Now the point is, this is all the similar between the compressor. Now for the turbine, the beauty part of that is, let me now erase the centrifugal part side, right? To avoid confusion, now let me delete those part. Now this is your original velocity triangle. Now for an, when you want to make out for your axial turbine, you are just need to, especially for the condition of the rotor blades. Fine, remember, because here the rotor blades is a main important factor. So for the rotor blades, here the alpha is greater when it is a flow is entering, alpha is greater than beta, and when it is leaving, beta is greater than alpha. You just need to remember this. Fine. Now after understanding that, you can easily convert that. You don't need to remember this such an complicated, right? Where you will be having so and so other factors, you don't need to remember that. Fine. If once you know this, it will be going, it's going to be very easy. Now right now this is the alpha, okay, and this is your beta. Now what I'm gonna do, the beta I'm going to transform into this side, okay. This is your alpha. Now I'm gonna keep my alpha greater than beta. So this alpha, this is my axial velocity, this is my c, absolute velocity, and this is going to be my your absolute tangential velocity from here to here. Fine. Any confusion till now? I have just drawn a half of it. It's clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Now this
Yes, ma'am.
other side I am going to flip into other end. Condition is alpha is greater than beta. So alpha is greater, that means obviously there will be some part, right, beta. So this portion is my beta value. The C remains the same, and this is going to my W. And here to here is my the relative tangential. Now what is my blade speed? Understanding the basic concept, it will extend from the C to W. So this is a C and this is a W, this one, and you just match over here. So mathematically, if I see here, CT can I write equals to U plus WT, and the same is followed here as well. Agree? This is a condition which I have made alpha is greater than beta. However you draw, nobody is going to check whether you are making the right side or the left side. Understand the concept, that is very important. Now you can another keep a clue that most the confusing part is whether to keep the alpha first or beta first. So alphabetically remember that A, B, C, D. A come first, A alpha, then comes beta. So alpha is going to be greater than beta. Next step, the beta is going to be greater than alpha. It follows the alphabetical order as well. So if you remember this tricks, you you don't have to worry much onto your velocity triangle, because in your exam point of view, if you remember the velocity triangle, you can easily solve the problem. Okay, now similarly you can do this same concept which I have said right now, same concept by the next thing. What is the next concept? When the beta is greater than alpha. Let's have a look what will happen in that scenario. That means alpha is here when beta is greater than alpha. So obviously it will extend like this. It will go like this. So this is going to be my W, and this one is going to be my beta. From CA to W, from CA to W, what we know? We know as sorry, WT. So WT, fine, and between the C and W is called as U. So mathematically can I write WT equals to U plus CT? In this case it is different. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So today what is your task is, you are going to practice all the three velocity triangle, right? Next class I am going to proceed with some why I am going inside this velocity triangle, because this is first of all very important topic, and they are going to ask you from this inside the velocity triangle. They might ask you that what is going to be the equation. So if you don't know the velocity triangle well enough, you can't answer it, and this proportion is a very scoring subject. Okay.